Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Teammates Podcast. Today we have the pleasure of talking to former UConn football tight end Tommy Myers. We discuss his journey from local Connecticut sports star to playing big-time college football, our time together as position teammates, him chasing his NFL dreams, and the realities behind that. We then touch on his tough transition to the real world and his experience training for and running a marathon and why it can change your life. Thank you all for listening. Sit back and enjoy the episode. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Teammates Podcast. We are now on episode 5. Today we have a very special guest and one of my former teammates, former tight end comrades at UConn. He has an amazing story, and he's fought through a ton of adversity at UConn when we were there, and he's really come a long way, and he's doing some exciting things. So Tommy Myers, thanks for coming on, bro. Appreciate you.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be on the podcast. Unfortunately, I got some big shoes to fill, and Tim Boyle and Tyler Davis, but I'm excited, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll film. All right, so let's hop into it. Give everyone listening and watching a little background into Tommy. I know you're Connecticut blood, UConn born and raised. So give us a little bit background. You growing up and your hometown and how sports is connected to that.
Absolutely. So I grew up in a very athletic family. Both my parents played Division I sports, and they both went to UConn coincidentally, but I was fortunate enough to be raised in a small little farm town in Coventry. Not much when it comes to sports. It's kind of on the bottom of the list, but we did our best. Growing up, my first love was basketball. I always wanted to play. For Mike Krzyzewski at Duke. Growing up, I just idolized JJ Redick, which is going to be a shot to a lot of the UConn fans. But like I said, I grew up playing every sport possible: track and field, baseball, soccer, football, everything I could get my hands on. I grew up, and I think that really makes you a well-balanced athlete. And then moving forward, I just started to focus on basketball a little more, believe it or not. Played on a few AAU basketball teams. And then as my career developed and I put on a little bit more size, that's when I started focusing on football. And, I was lucky enough to get a scholarship at UConn. And then my career kind of just took off from there.
Yeah. So it's interesting because you started focusing on basketball and that was kind of your thing. Did you think that you could you have gone and played somewhere in college for basketball? And I mean, obviously that didn't pan out quite like football did.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. So I had a pretty humbling story. I was always a little bit taller. I peaked a little bit, probably freshman year of high school. I was probably 6'4", could jump a little bit, hold my own. And then when I was 16, we went up to a AAU basketball tournament in Boston, and we played the number 1 team in the country.
Jeez.
A team called BABC, and that year they had Nerlens Noel, Wayne Selden.
That's right.
I'm pretty sure their whole starting 5 went top Division I, NBA.
Kentucky, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think by the end of the first half, it was like 63-20. And I tried to drive in on Nerlens a few times, and he just put it back in my face. So in the car ride home, I'm having a little bit of a reality check, and I think that's when I realized, like, maybe football is going to be the sport. Maybe basketball is not it. And so kind of worked and developed my body a little bit more to be ready for that level. But basketball was my first love, and I still love it today. Just didn't have the genetics to get me to that next level.
Yeah, I was kind of the same way. I loved basketball, and the genetics. I mean, like, you were 6'4". I mean, you're 6'5" now, right? 6'5".
Yeah, about
6-ish.
6'4" and 3/4.
You're he's about an inch taller than me. So we kind of peaked, like, if we were like 6'8", 6'10", that
Right.
would give us a little
Yeah.
hope. But so okay, so and you were surrounded by UConn family. I mean, both your parents went to UConn. Did you feel like could you have chosen somewhere else to go, or I mean, because for anyone that has like a sports family and you have like a school that you're like supposed to go to, quote unquote. Did you feel any pressure from that, or were you happy making that decision? I mean, obviously, it seemed like a decent one, but
No, I mean, I'll give it up to my parents. They never put pressure on me at all.
that's awesome.
I had a lot of, I think I had a lot of opportunity and that I could have explored, but I think, my heart was with UConn all along.
Yeah.
And just being that hometown kid and, somebody that, a lot of people would talk to me about going to UConn and just being able to watch me at Remser Stadium. And I think that gave me a lot of excitement. And so I think actually I committed to UConn on my parents' anniversary on June 10th, which was hilarious. Kind of came full circle considering they went to UConn as well. But I didn't get really outside pressure, and I think it was really the right decision at the time. And I have no regrets at all.
Yeah, no, that's good. And by the way, that was yesterday.
I know.
June 10th.
33. Yeah, it's their 33rd anniversary.
Amazing.
So,
congrats
to
them.
them.
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, so what would you say was the turning point moment for you once you started developing your body for football a little bit? I mean, obviously you're pretty solid, but what was that turning point to you, saying, oh, like I can do this thing at the next level type of thing?
Yeah, fortunately in high school I had a lot of I had three coaches that really I think saw something in me early on, which was really nice, and took me under their wing and developed me. And we had a good strength program in terms of if you wanted to get stronger, then you would. We didn't have that after school program where we had the guys all going into lift, but if you wanted to get better, we had a few coaches. Dan Lawrence was one of them. Martin Manson was another one. These guys really took me under their wing, and I would think that that's the turning point. I think from my freshman year to my sophomore year in high school, probably put on like 20 pounds. And then sophomore year to junior year, I think going into my junior year, I was probably 230, a little bit of baby weight, kind of, a little too much weight at the love handles, but I was still a bigger kid and kind of, building into that stereotypical college tight end build, which was nice.
Right. And it's kind of interesting because basketball players have, it seems that basketball players transition well to the tight end position. I mean, you see it in the NFL. A lot of very successful NFL tight ends were college basketball players. Right. So, I mean, it seems like the tight end mold kind of fits that a little bit. And I mean, you as well. I mean, we all played basketball. I mean, most of us played basketball to some degree.
Alec Bloom played basketball. TD played basketball a little bit. Yeah. He was more of a jumper inside, just getting rebounds. But he'll even tell you that he can't shoot much. So that's a shot at TD. Timmy Boyle played basketball.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those sports that really correlates well to football because it's that lateral speed, it's the jumping, it's that quick movement that you need at the tight end position.
Yep.
And I think it correlates well.
Yeah, agreed. So the transition to UConn for you, what was your first year you got there? That was
2013.
13. Okay, so it was the year before. It was the year before Diaco got there, right?
Yeah, he was recruited by Pasqualoni and DeLeon.
Right. Yep.
I was brought in. We had a stud class coming in. We had Foley Renzo Fatukasi, Cole Ormsby, Junior Joseph, Timmy Boyle, Richard Legault. We had some studs. Studs. I was lucky enough to be a part of that class.
So you come to UConn. What was the biggest transition for you that first year? I can make some comparisons after this, but I'm curious for you that first year coming from high school, making that jump to D1 college football with a lot of really good players. What was that transition like for you?
I'll tell you what, man, it was a humbling experience.
Yeah,
very humbling. And I had a dad that played Division I football, and so he kind of filled me in on it, but I was not ready. I remember sitting in a stall after the first practice and just thinking like, oh, holy shit, man, this is crazy. And just kind of self-reflecting on like the choices I made. I remember first full padded practice, we had a guy named BJ McBride, and we were
Oh, yeah.
4 down. We were a 4 down team when
Remember
I first got there. And BJ, I was 17, by the way. I reported when I reported my freshman year, I was 17, and BJ was a 23, 24-year-old grown man, like 315 pounds, and we were doing just a typical 9-on-7, we called it, and it was basically offense versus defense run drill. And he put me on my, like, not even on my back, it was like on the back of my head, right? Like just totally just ran me over. And I just remember thinking like, wow, this is going to be a long 4 years.
Holy shit.
Holy shit is right. Like, welcome to college football kind of moment that I think all of us get, no matter how good you are.
For sure.
And, that was really it. BJ McBride, Junior Joseph even got me a few times, and he was a freshman, just a bunch of studs coming in and just rocking. So it was a tough transition at first.
Yeah. I mean, I've definitely got some stories like that too. I mean, the first day you're there, I remember the day before, I was like, going through my head, I was like, what the fuck? And then you get there and then training or camp is, crazy,
It's yeah.
I mean, it's 6
crazy.
6 a.m. to 10 p.m. I mean, 2-a-days. I don't know. Are they allowed to do 2-a-days anymore? I don't think they are.
I don't think they are. I think it's like the second practice. Here's another thing, okay? And I'm not going to go down a wormhole, but they say no 2-a-days because the second practice is just uppers, but we all know what uppers is.
We all know
that it's still a 2-a-day just because you're not like hitting, right? But it's like, come on now.
It's full pads.
Apparently, they're not allowed to do a second practice, full padded practice.
Technically,
Yeah.
So I mean, so we had a good group of tight ends. Alec came in. He became a very good player, and yourself, you kind of developed into a very, very good tight end. You're versatile. You played the F, you played the Y. How was life as you settled into it a little bit? I know the coaching staff changed after the first year. And then that's when I got there, is when Diaco came in. And so how was that kind of settling into a role and then, having to deal with the coaching staff change?
Yeah, man, it's always an interesting thing. And I think, when I first got there, we had about 9 tight ends on the roster. And I really looked up to a guy named Spencer Parker. He was a former walk-on, was offered a scholarship his senior year. He was my roommate during camp my freshman year. When he graduated that year, it's funny, the picture that I took as a freshman, true freshman in the tight end room, I was the only survivor, basically, right? So like, either every other tight end got moved, they quit, they got, kicked off the team. It was crazy. Yeah. Spencer was the only one to graduate, move on, which was, interesting. But when the new coaching staff came in, man, I think it was like a clean sheet for me. Yeah. It was a time where I could kind of reset. It was almost like an 8th grader going to high school. It was a way to redefine myself, have a clean slate, have the coaching staff come in and, they can see me in their own eyes as opposed to the old, person I was coming in as a little baby.
Yep.
And so for me, the transition was good. I needed it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's some great points. So we got to get that picture and put it up for those watching. That's interesting. I didn't actually know that you were the lone survivor of the 9, which is probably honestly why they said like they called me back and was like, hey, like we need some tight end to help. Like everyone left basically because that was going into that training camp, and we had, I think, 6 guys in training camp, something like that.
Right. So you know, I don't want to think of, all the names is just crazy, but I'm like, I can see the faces in my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And from freshman year to my redshirt freshman year,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different. We'll have to get that picture.
Yeah. Well, I'll toss that out for sure. So you become, you kind of get that redshirt year and you can kind of grow into yourself a little bit, not be quite as, a baby.
Right.
So coaching staff changes, life as a tight end. What I mean, we were both in the room together all the time, like every day for
Too much.
hours. Way too much. I mean, we had a lot of different coaching changes, position coaching changes, offense changes in our years, the rest of the years. How were you able to stay confident in yourself as a player through so many transitions, learning different things so often? I know
Yeah.
as an example, Tim, has learned like 10 different offenses in
Right.
everywhere he's, I mean, that's an extreme example, but we had basically a different position coach every year, and we had basically a different OC almost every year. So how do you keep your confidence in your game when, variables around you are changing that you really can't control?
Yeah. Shout out to Tim because we kind of went through the same transition. But I think the big thing is it's kind of what your whole podcast encapsulates, right? Is the fact that you got to lean on your teammates, man. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, I hate to sound corny, but that's the bottom line. Like the thing that's always going to be there at the end of the day is guys like Timmy Boyle and Tyler Davis and Alec Bloom and
Yeah.
those guys that you come in with and you grind with and you're in the trenches with, right? Like
Yeah.
those are the guys that you can lean on to learn the playbook, stay after and run some routes on air. Uh, that's how you go through the transition is you lean on your boys and, hope the next coaching staff can lead you in the right direction.
Yeah. And I mean, there was a lot of it, but I feel like, for the record, I mean, we had a very solid bond in the tight end room. I feel like, the guys
Yeah.
that, I mean, we were and TD transitioned, I think it was like a year or two after two tight ends. So he kind of joined us, but it was like me, you, and Bloom stuck around through through all the years, basically. And then we had some additions here and there. I know Steve took his turn at tight end for a little bit, but short-lived.
Shout out to Steve.
Shout out Steve. Yeah, we'll get him on at some point. I know he's had some good he was coaching down at the U.
Yeah.
Pretty cool. So you started, getting a lot of playing time. So you were starting essentially. You were, you and Alec. I mean, you had a couple amazing plays. I think it was the Villanova game, and I'll toss it up if I can find it. But I think it was like a 50-yard catch, and you were just like trucking the dudes, like saying "get off me," and then you didn't end up scoring on that play, but you did have a touchdown shortly after, and you had a big game, and that was the first game of the year, I think.
First game of redshirt sophomore.
So I mean, that must have given you some confidence in yourself, like showing what you can do at things going well. Like, damn, I'm a pretty damn good player, right?
No, absolutely, and I think that's why preparation is so important. Because I'll tell you what was going through my mind there when I caught that first touchdown. I broke like 3 tackles, got into the end zone, and I remember thinking to myself, like, holy shit, like I can't believe that I just did that. Like I dove for the pylon before my brain could even process what was going on, and I really can kind of tie that back to all the preparation,
Everything,
the 2.5 years of work that went into it, the summer training, like everything that went into it just went into that one play, and it kind of all came together for me. Like, wow, like we're actually, like, practice actually means something, training means something. And so it gave me a lot of confidence, man, a lot of it.
and it's hard to see that that and get that feeling, you know, when you're blocking and you're not seeing like the catches and the targets. And I know, you know, tight ends, depending on the offense, but we usually don't get a ton of love in terms of targets. But you know, I mean, we did have a decent role in you know, our offense. You know, we had a very pro style offense, so we used a lot of tight ends. So I mean, that's great, and encapsulating all that work. And I mean, that's fun. I remember Alex's first touchdown too. It was against Boise State.
That's right.
Yeah, he was a little baby giraffe at the time, but
unbelievable, man. I remember like you know, him and we were freaking attached to the hip most of the game, man.
Basically.
Like most games we were. And I think that I was just as happy when he scored or did something great than myself, you know.
And I think that's one of that was one of the best parts about, you know, our group. You know, we were as excited for each other, like, you know, family, to that somebody else, you know, did well and succeeded in scoring a touchdown or whatever as ourselves. So I mean, you know, that speaks volumes. And I know you guys were attached at the hip for sure. It was Al on the line and you off right behind me.
Right. Dude, it's crazy. I remember I got yelled at by Coach Reducci one time because we were blocking and I had my hand literally on his hip.
Yeah.
You know, and we're blocking. He's like, dude, you can't. I'm like he's my guy, man. Like we're dogs. Like that's what we do. Hilarious, man.
Coach Reducci, he's a funny guy.
Yeah, freaking love that man, dude.
I know.
He's a great coach. Great coach.
He's been around the game a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, Coach Reducci, shout out. We love you. At some point, I would definitely, you know, I want to get some coaches on here too. That it'd be great to, you know, chop things up, get some experiences. I know some of our guys went on to coaching, so we'll definitely get them on. So, okay, kind of jumping to the Houston game. So, you know, for those that listened and watched before, you know, we touched on we played Houston, which was a huge game for us, and Tim Boyle came in the first quarter because Brian Sheriffs got hurt, and Houston was ranked 14th, and we were at home, and so Tommy also got hurt. So do you want to kind of take us through? I mean, obviously that was a super disappointing game for you, even though we ended up winning.
Yeah.
And it was kind of one of the biggest wins in program in recent memory in the program. What was that game like for you? Obviously a wave of emotions, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't want to be dramatic, but I wouldn't change a thing, right? That was the biggest win, one of the biggest wins in program history, like you had stated.
Yeah.
But you know, before that game started, I was just so excited to play Houston, man. Like they were talking crap the whole week. They were undefeated. They were, you know, saying that as soon as they beat us, they're going to New York Six Bowl.
Yeah.
So first drive, man, we pounded them, dude. We got on top of them quick, and we drove right down the field and scored. And I had I think Bloom and I had a few good blocks, and I was excited. You know, they had always, you know, you kind of draw it up in your head, and it went exactly the way we wanted it to go.
Yeah.
And then I think it was like third play of the second drive, it got rolled up on. I instantly knew I broke my leg. I remember looking up at Bloom and just saying, I just broke my effing leg, you know? And he was like, what? And I was like, I just broke my effing leg. And he was like, yeah, he was like, oh my God. And as soon as the training staff came out, I was like, just get me up, get me off the field. Like I'm done.
Yeah.
And I remember just coming to tears, man, just bawling my eyes out. And it wasn't because I was in pain. It was because like I said, all that work he put into it. And I just knew my season was over, man.
It's upsetting.
So I got carted off. They x-rayed me. I broke my fibula. They put me in a soft cast. And then I just watched a miracle happen. It wasn't a miracle for us, right? We get ready for every game expecting to win, but for everybody else, it was a miracle. And like you said, bittersweet. Because we had just paved our way to go to a bowl game for the first time in a long time. But here I am with a snap leg and, you know, going into surgery on Monday. you know?
Yeah. I mean, you were, so obviously it was pandemonium. You came back on the sideline, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny. I tell this story and I've talked to Brian about this. It's pretty funny. As you know, he got knocked out that game.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I actually got hurt before him. I was getting carted off and I was going past the end zone, and Landon Roberts ended up being a good linebacker for the Patriots, was the one that knocked him out.
Yep.
And Brian's eyes they rolled up in his head.
Yep.
It was a pretty bad hit. But I got finished my cast, and I'm crutching out to the field, and I remember looking over in the shower, and Bryant's in the shower with his dress clothes on, and I'm like, Bryant, what are you doing, bud? He's like, I'm getting ready to go back in the game. Coach let me go back in. I said, me too, my man. I'll see you in there. He was in a different world.
Oh my God. Damn.
But
holy shit.
It was a great story, man. And yeah, I was able to be on the sidelines and watch the win.
Yeah, no, and I mean, obviously, huge win, and not only beating ranked 14th Houston, who also ended up going to New Year's Six bowl game and beating Florida State, and I think they finished in the top 10 in the country.
Yeah, they did. I think they were 9 that year.
Yeah, 9 or 8, something like that. So, but it got us to a bowl game, and you know, obviously, you know, you weren't able to play in the bowl game, but you know, it would have been sick. It was. I remember also. I think Jordan, right? Jordan was we had Jordan at the time, and he also broke his leg, but it was in bowl practice. Yeah, it was literally the following week.
Another quick story on that, because it's just hilarious, and I need to. Probably Jordan doesn't think it's as funny as I do, but. So they told me, because I had just gotten out of surgery, and then they didn't want me to go out and watch practice on the field yet, just because I was pretty new to having surgery.
Yeah.
And so I crutched on over to the door and peeked into the practice facility, and the one play that I watch, literally the one play that I watched Jordan snap his leg.
No,
not even kidding.
I didn't know that.
Like, I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
And I turned around and I remember looking at Bob, our trainer, and I was like, hey, somebody just broke their leg in there. And they're like, dude, don't joke about that. I'm like, I'm not joking. Someone literally just broke their leg. And then as soon as I'm done saying that, someone runs in and says, Jordan just broke his leg. I'm like,
okay,
oh
so
God.
That one, talk about a bad play to watch. That everyone freaked at that. I remember
it was dislocated too, and it was like
it was bad.
It was bad.
I remember everyone like turning and gasping, like specifically in practice. I didn't realize you were at the door. That's talk about a wow. Yeah, that was so it was basically the roller twins over here with like the one leg up, like the roller derby.
Right. That's exactly it. I think he broke his right leg. I broke my left leg.
Yeah. So
if we could have combined legs, man,
you would have been a great player.
We would have been great.
Okay, so you were able to come back from the injury, obviously, and so you kind of got back into yourself. Did you feel like you were the same after the injury, or how did it affect you?
Man. You know, it affected me a lot. Really, it did. I was like a step slower for a while, and I remember coming back from surgery. This was at the end of the season, my redshirt sophomore year, and so I wasn't going to be ready to go until like end of spring. And I remember they put the chart, like the playing chart on the board, and I was like, I was like the third tight end on the in a lineup. I'm like, man, like, did I really just lose my spot?
Yeah, I know.
Like, oh my God. I couldn't believe it. And so that was like a shot to the heart, you know, and it took a lot of mental fortitude to train, get back to myself. And ultimately, thankfully enough, get my spot back. But talk about like you said, roller coaster of emotions. It was a tough turning point in my career.
Yeah, and I mean, at least from my perspective, I knew you were gonna. I mean, as long as you were, 75% of yourself, I knew you were gonna like. It was you and Alec were the guys, at least from my, I know coaching staffs put up different like boards and stuff, but I mean, we knew who was the bee's knees over here.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. So finishing your career and you were training for, going to the next level and
Yeah.
pro day and the whole deal. Walk us through that experience a little bit. How was that whole, experience for you, pro day, and then leading up to eventually getting, a mini camp invite, I believe, right? Was that,
Yep.
that was mini camp invite with the Saints?
Yep. Yep. Um, it was honestly, it's a fun process because you're basically just trying to make yourself into a Greek god, for lack of a better term, right? Like you're spending your entire life just eating properly, training properly, taking care of your body, just to do
That's
a
it. Yeah.
hour pony show in front of all these NFL scouts. You know what I mean? Like
Greek god that's a good way to put it.
it's true, man. Like
Yeah.
you're literally just trying to make yourself look like the best version of yourself and also perform at the highest level. And for me, it was a fun process because I didn't have to worry about anything else. I didn't have to worry about a job. I didn't have to worry about learning a playbook, nothing.
Yep.
It was just straight training and becoming trying to make yourself into an NFL player. And so pro day happened and I performed probably as well as I wanted to. I didn't do anything crazy. I didn't
What'd you end up
drop the
running?
ball. I think I ran like a high 4.7,
Okay.
which wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
I got like 24 reps on bench. My broad jump was like just over 9. So nothing crazy, nothing bad.
Yeah.
Everybody works to get drafted. Everybody wants to get drafted. But at the end of the day, if you get an opportunity and you make the best of it like Andrew did, then you come away a winner.
Either way, it looks like the NFL is in Tommy's future.
It's crazy. This has been a dream of mine since I was a little kid. So this is something that I've been working for, and just to see it happen right in front of me it's a dream come true.
So ended up getting an offer from the Saints to go to minicamp, and flew out there. And again, it was like that transition from high school to college all over again, right? I get off the plane at like 7 p.m. or whatever it was, and in Louisiana, and they gave me a playbook and they say, learn the first install by tomorrow. So saddle up. It's go time.
Yeah.
So we get there on the first day, and they had a first round draft pick by the name of Marcus Davenport, who is 6'8", 290, runs like a 4'7", 4'6". And so he was literally bigger than me, faster than me, and stronger than me in all categories, right? And I had to block him, so again, saddle up, like, here we go. This is game time. And so the transition, to say the least, was eye-opening and humbling and overall a great experience. But it had to come to an end eventually, right?
Right. And I mean, it does at some point for everybody. I mean, it's very, very unique to at least get that NFL experience, even if it wasn't for, a full season or a long period of time. Just seeing how it worked, being a part of it. What do you think was the biggest difference between college and NFL from the practices that you were in? Like, what was that biggest difference for you?
Everyone says speed and strength, and that's obvious.
Oh, yeah.
That's obvious, right? But the biggest thing for me was what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say expectation, but I guess I'll go with that. It's because, a good block in college is an average block in the NFL.
Yep.
And you do not make a mistake in the NFL. Like, you don't make a mistake because it is your job. Like, I remember there was a play on the third day, and I don't know, I think I ran the wrong route. The offensive coordinator at the time was over on the other field, and he comes sprinting over and he's like, who ran the wrong route? Like, I don't know what the play was, but there was a hole here and somebody ran the wrong concept. And, like, man, how did you know that?
That is wild.
It's crazy. And so I think I would say the expectations to just be a pro, like you are a pro. I think that was the biggest difference.
Yeah, and you feel, I mean, there's pressure in D1 college football, but just ramp it up. Everyone's getting paid, and to some degree, depending, but it's big money, big pressure, and big fan bases. I mean, that's interesting. And I mean, obviously it's a lot to handle, right? I mean, to try to perform, and you've got trained all your life and all this stuff to be perfect, quote unquote. And I mean, nobody's perfect, even though it seems like guys are, right? But I mean,
well, I remember, Nick, Coach Verducci, he pulled me aside before I flew out to Louisiana, and he said, I want to let you know that you may have the talent to play in the NFL, but you are going to be competing against guys that have a 3 mortgages.
Yeah.
They have 4 kids, and the only way that they're going to pay for all of it is the NFL, and they have nothing else. They have nothing else. And they are literally putting their entire life into this game we call football, right? And for me, I didn't know if I loved the game enough to do that. And these guys, they truly love the freaking game, man. And like I said, they got people depending on them to bring home that paycheck. And it shows out on the field because they are giving 100% effort every single day. And it's a crazy thing to watch.
That's a great, that's an interesting tidbit there. That whether you have the ability or not isn't the whole story.
That's the price of entry.
Exactly. It's the price of entry. And it's tough because there's a lot of different situations that you can be put into. Some guys can be thrust into a really great situation, and then things, just the puzzle pieces fit together. And then if you're put into a different situation with a lot of talent or big time like capital spent at your position, then it's way more difficult to try to push yourself in there. So I mean, that's huge. So biggest like takeaway from that experience, obviously you didn't end up going like making the team, but well, I mean, that was awesome, right? Like you come back from that and say that was cool, right?
No, absolutely. It was a great experience. And I think honestly, my biggest takeaway is those guys earn every freaking penny they make.
Yeah.
Because a person watching football has zero clue what goes into it. And I'm talking about zero clue. You are up at 6 a.m., 5 a.m., whatever time it is, and you go to bed at 10 a.m. and you still have to, 10 p.m. and you still have to learn an entire playbook by the next day. And oh yeah, by the way, the first time you run that play, you're going to have a first-round draft pick beating on your forehead and trying to make sure that he doesn't look like shit in front of everybody else so he gets cut. You know what I mean? It's completely a different world, man. And they deserve all the credit. Guys like Tim Boyle, guys like Tyler Davis, Lorenzo Batucasi, those guys are my teammates that I play with, man. Like, hats off to them because they freaking deserve every dollar they make.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah, we had a lot of good talent, and we have a decent amount of guys on NFL rosters now, which is amazing. I know Tyler specifically at our position was able to make that jump. For those that watch the episode with Tyler, if you haven't, check it out. It's a good one. But he is
I can attest to that as well. I agree.
Yeah, he has a really unique story, and for him to push his way in and actually make it. I mean, he was drafted, I guess, so that's a little bit different versus like a mini camp guy. So you have some sort of expectation to do something, but nothing's guaranteed. Every day, like you make a few mistakes and you're gone, you know?
Right. No, absolutely. And look, Tyler is a freak athlete.
Yeah.
You know, I think that one of the things that separates him is he freaking loves football.
Yeah.
I mean, he loves football, and it is very evident. It was evident when he came in as a gray shirt and he was pushing and leading everybody else around him.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, this kid's special, man. Like, there's no question.
Yeah.
And so that's the difference. And Timmy Boyle's the same way, man. Like, Timmy Boyle loves football so much so that he went to like 46 different colleges.
I was gonna say you gotta love football if you're gonna go
right. Like shit, man. He ended up in like what, Eastern Kentucky. And balled out. Like, shout out to Timmy, man. Like, you have to love football to do that.
And to put in the time and work to learn so many different offenses when nothing's guaranteed. There's no like grass is greener thing. Like, there's no like immediate like end to the shit that's happening and all the. I mean, yeah, it's wild. And I mean, to say that you have that, like you did that. I mean, that's awesome. So I mean, you should definitely appreciate that. I mean, I know you do. So I mean, that's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Absolutely. Thank you, man.
Yeah. So I mean, you were from there. You transitioned away from football, obviously.
Yes.
To the Arena League. No, I'm kidding.
To the USFL.
Exactly. Well, it's funny because Vontae plays in the USFL now.
Dude, to be honest with you, Vontae's another guy that loves football, man.
He does.
We would go at it, and I hated that kid at sometimes. He hated me sometimes. But when we were off the field, we enjoyed each other's company. He's a great kid, great dude. He freaking works his ass off, and he deserves it, man.
He does.
For me, I'm like, I can't. I wanted to get as far away from football as possible, dude, when I was done, because I'm like, this sport, man, it is brutal at times, and it was, like you said, I transitioned away.
Yeah. So, you transitioned away. Did you start? What'd you do? I mean, you're doing something your entire life, right? High school years, and you spend every waking hour, it seems, learning something, practicing for it, training for it, and then it's over. What did you do after that? I mean, basketball obviously was a big part of your life. I know golf, you like to golf and other stuff. So tell us how that was like, cut off.
Absolutely.
Like
currently I'm very happy. I am a sales rep for a great company called Intuitive Surgical. So I'm in the med device sales space, which is, in my opinion, it's the pinnacle of sales, and I'll die in my grave defending that. But the transition is tough, man. I will tell you, it's hard because, you're used to training and seeing the benefits of your training and just going into it. And like you said, you're striving for perfection every day. And then when you transition into a job, it's weird because you can't have the same push on people. Like the people around you might not understand what makes you tick. And it's definitely an interesting transition, but I can, thankfully say that I've done my best to make it as smooth as possible for me and everyone around.
And I mean, that's an interesting insight. The mental and physical is just so on you. It's all on you now. There was no training plan. There's no schedule. So it's really trying to learn yourself to a deeper level. Cause we were all, around, here's the schedule, you show up and you're doing this, you're doing the plan, and we're, we put ourselves in the position to do that. But then once that's gone, now it's just like, poof, what do you want to do? It's like a blank slate,
Correct. 100%. I think, I'm underestimating, I'm not really showing how hard it was at first. I mean, it was really hard for me. Really hard to transition. To the point where I had to talk to people, and it became very evident that a lot of athletes are very goal oriented, and they always are looking for the finish line, right?
Yep.
The championship game, the conference championship, their next game. Maybe for some people, it's the starting position. They're always looking for that end goal. And when you transition into a job and out of sports, there is no end goal. There's no end goal. Like, the end goal is death, like, for real, like you just have to kind of move the lighthouse, focus on the next thing, but there's no championship. You're not competing against other people. You're competing with yourself.
That's it. That's it.
Which is the biggest change and the hardest transition, especially if you come from a team sport like football.
Yes. And it also completely depends on what your drive is, what you want to do. And I mean, there's just so many questions that are tough to answer immediately. And so, I mean, you're just left kind of like doing some things that you're like normally like accustomed to. And then you kind of like figure out some new things that you like to do. And then, work, obviously, and then training. So, this is a great segue to, you started running also. And so, which kind of a parallel to both of us, right? So you ran a half marathon. That was your first, right? That was the first thing you did?
Yeah, we ran a half marathon. I can't remember the month.
A couple years ago.
No, yeah, but it was like the half marathon was a little earlier, maybe like 6 months ago. Dude, it all runs together. I can't really remember, but that was first. The half marathon was first.
So, okay. So what spurred you to get into running? I know your fiance, she also runs with you, right?
Yeah, she's a much better athlete than myself. She was a absolute beast, track athlete at the University of Miami. And so she is like born to run.
Yeah.
Myself, not so much.
Yeah.
Not born to run. But we wanted to start doing something that was going to challenge us. And what better thing to do than go on a 4-hour run?
Exactly.
And so getting into it, I hated every second of it until we were done, and then I enjoyed it. But then I started to realize that with running in general, it's a competitive thing versus yourself. You are, as David Goggins would say, you're fighting against your inner bitch. Yeah. Which is so true. And Nick, again, you can attest to this, which is something that's great, right? How many times have you been on like a 7, 8, 9 mile run and you're thinking to yourself at mile 5, like, I could stop. Let's stop. I'm done. I'm tired. My legs hurt. My feet hurt. I'm dehydrated.
Yeah.
And you just fight through to the end. And you find out something about yourself. That's for sure.
So what drew me to it? Okay. Here again, a comparison. I am also not a runner. Quote unquote, not a runner. Yeah. No, we're not runners builds.
We are not runners.
But I got into it for some reason. So we have a half marathon here called Pier to Peak, which is the world's hardest half marathon, quote unquote, because it's 4,000 feet of elevation. You're going from the ocean to the top of a mountain. That was the first one I decided to do. And yes, it sucked. Like it was horrible. Yeah. And the training sucked. It's like, do I want to drag my ass on a Sunday up to a mountain just to like run up like and get half a mile and be like, I'm dead. How am I going to do 13 miles of this? Like,
and you paid for it.
Yeah.
And you paid for it.
Yeah. And I signed up and I drove myself there. What the heck?
Right.
But, so I think I don't know what it is, but it's such a good embodiment of life, and it's physically putting one foot in front of the other type of thing. You can quit at any point, and that's the big piece for me. If you want to quit on life or whatever you're doing, you can do it.
100%.
The opening is there, the door is open. And in fact, a lot of people and things are set up for you to do that. They're saying, go for it, quit, go, like take the easy route.
You're gonna be happy. It's all about being happy, right? Take that route.
The easy route.
I think I would challenge, some of your listeners or whoever's watching this today would be, my life got exponentially better and more productive when I was running.
Yep.
And I know that it sounds so stupid, but when you're training your brain to overcome adversity that you're putting yourself in, right? Like you are putting yourself in adversity and you are overcoming it. So you are becoming a new version of yourself every time you go on a run, right? So how can you not get better?
Exactly.
Right? I got a better job. I got paid more. I was more productive at work. My home life was better. I mean, I was running with my fiance, so that was a great time together, a great miserable time together. But your life gets better. You get more productive. You become a better human being.
Yeah, and I do think the mental part of it, we have a little bit of an edge, and your fiance as well, from college sports and the things that we've gone through. The grueling workouts for football and practice and those mental blocks. There's a mental block that most people have that until you get over it, you think you can't.
Right.
And so I forget what the saying is, but like when you think you're finished, like you're 40% done or something like that.
Right.
And so, I mean, Bayless, shout out Bayless, his, some of the grueling workouts and such. And once you get over that mental block of that, you think you can't do anymore, but you actually can do a lot more, then things kind of open up a little bit. And for running, that's exactly right. Because, you're at mile like 2 and you have 5 more to go. And I'm like, oh, my quad and my leg, my whatever, like it's like dying. And how am I going to do like 5 more of these or whatever?
100%.
So yeah, I mean,
there's so many people out there that are doing it too, right?
Yeah.
Like my thought process was this: like there's people out there running 240 miles
I know.
in a span of 4 days, and what's the difference between them and myself? It's not like they have some magical pill that makes them genetically better. Maybe they have a larger lung capacity, but the fact of the matter is they've trained more,
practice,
and their mental strength is stronger than myself. That's the only difference, right? And I think that's a strong message for people. It's like, you can be, for a lack of a better term, anything you want to be, but you just need to be obsessed with it and become the person that you want to be.
And you got to get over all the mental blocks that you can't do it, or you're,
right.
And when you're hurting, when things are down, like you can do it. You just got to keep pushing. So, I mean, I ran, that was my first half marathon. And then you ran your first half marathon. What was that experience like for you when you woke up and you crossed the finish line? Like you felt good after it was done, I'm guessing.
Well, we ran a full, are you talking about the full marathon?
Well, so you did half first and then you did full.
Correct.
So when you did the half, I mean, I'm sure was your goal to run a full?
We worked in the half marathon into our full marathon training.
Okay.
And I went into the half marathon like an absolute idiot. I did a hard leg workout like 3 days before, and so my legs were gassed. And so I fell off hard at like mile 10.
Yeah.
And I think we finished right at just over like an hour and 45 minutes or something, which isn't terrible. But, Amy beat me. My fiance beat me by like a couple seconds, right? But that was an eye opener because I crossed the finish line. The people at the finish line were asking me if I was okay, because I was like, I looked like I just got hit by a flashbang. Like I was just so out of it. And I remember instantly thinking to myself, like, how the hell am I going to run a full marathon?
Double that.
How am I going to do that again? You know?
God. So that was on your, I didn't know that was on your full marathon training. So then how'd the marathon go? I mean, training was tough, obviously. And then you get to race day. I think you did, was it Miami?
Yeah, we did Miami.
Okay.
Correct.
So take us through the marathon for you.
Yeah, so we trained through the winter in New England. So you can guess
For
how
everybody that knows.
yeah. So there were literally days where it was like 1 degree outside or 10 degrees outside. We had a rule where we didn't run in the snow, so we did something better where we would go to a treadmill and run for 10 miles, which is probably the worst
Thing of all time.
history of torture. But we hopped on a plane and we headed to Miami, and it was like 85 and humid. So it was the exact opposite of what we trained in. But Nick, going through college, we were ready for the adversity. And we started off and we did great till about mile 22. I had gotten to the point where I'd stopped sweating completely.
Just,
which is, as you know, that's it. Your body's shutting down. It's over. Amy was having some bowel issues, so she was just struggling as well.
Yeah.
But mile 23, I stopped, and my legs were seizing. Just couldn't even walk at that point.
Jesus.
I took some salt pills. We had this thing called BioFreeze that we put on our legs, and then just powered it through. Got to the finish line. I beat her this time. So little payback, which was sweet. I beat her by about 7 minutes, I think, which was nice. Okay. So hopefully she listens to this and, she can understand.
You have that over her for the rest of your life.
Exactly. But the reality of it is it was honestly one of the biggest accomplishments I feel like in my sports career.
Yeah.
Because I remember thinking at mile 21, there is no possible way I can finish. And I know you hear all these stories about people like Goggins ran on broken legs and all this stuff, but until you experience it for yourself, I'm not comparing myself to Goggins at all, but I'm saying until you experience, you are fully prepared to quit, you think you're going to quit, you think there's no way, and then you go on for 4 miles of just agony and cross that finish line, something you've been preparing for 3, 4, 5 months. It's a crazy feeling because you're in so much pain, but you are so happy at the same time. And it's an unbelievable experience. And I truly suggest anybody should do it. Everybody should do it.
Yeah. And it's interesting crossing the finish line because it's just different emotions. It's like my body is physically in a ton of pain, but I succeed. It's that feeling of success, whatever you're I reached the goal. It's literally the finish line, the goal.
Correct.
Right. It's right there. You crossed it. That's it. And so it's kind of anticlimactic, but it's really, really rewarding. If you've never done it before, it is extremely rewarding, and it's a weird feeling, you're putting yourself through all this pain and suffering, but I think there's doing all that, and this translates to life too. You're having a bigger purpose for doing all that, right? And it's not just about crossing the finish line. That was you going against yourself, and as you said, every time you do that, you got better. So yes, the race is over. You finished, you crossed the finish line, you have the medal, right? But what's next? That you're just the second you cross the finish line, you're just starting the rest of your life.
That is so powerful, Nick, so powerful. And the reason is because this is what I was trying to say earlier, but you hit the nail on the head is in life, you need to enjoy the process. Exactly. You need to become process oriented and not outcome oriented, because it's that concept of once I have money, I'll be happy. Once I finish this race, I'll be happy. Once I do this. No, it's the process, right? You go through it for I didn't give a shit if I crossed, obviously the goal was to cross the finish line, but it wasn't about my time or it was about, oh my God, this is the person I became. I literally evolved into another person, which is just, it's amazing. It's a great feeling.
It's amazing. And, and then we've played sports at a pretty high level. So, we understand the feeling of that. And, this is just, something completely, it's so unique. And
yeah, it's like dopamine versus serotonin, I think it is, right? Like when you score a touchdown in college football, I mean, you could get shot in the leg and you wouldn't even feel it, because your adrenaline and your dopamine, I mean, it's the craziest feeling you've ever had.
I mean, you literally broke your leg and we were yelling out, I broke my leg.
Right. Like, well, I remember my first touchdown, I separated my shoulder.
Yeah.
Like I separated and I had no clue to the end of the game, because I'm like freaking adrenaline is through the roof. Dopamine is just flooding my brain, and then it's gone. And then once you try to chase that's when you get into a lot of trouble. But when you become process oriented and you have that, I believe it's serotonin. You might want to fact check this, but
we'll check it.
Serotonin it gets released into your body, and when you become process oriented, it's a completely different feeling. It's almost like a euphoria, because like you're not chasing this feeling, it's just within you. Like you're like, oh my God, this is amazing.
That being process oriented helps you stay level in the highs and lows, right? The peaks and valleys. I know, Diaco preached this, it's about, the process, not the product. And
right.
I mean, he had a lot of funny sayings that were really, really good.
Hey, he did. He sure did.
I remember the one with the scorpion on your back. You're gonna let the scorpion on your back. That was a good one.
He had a lot of great ideologies.
And I touched on this in another episode, but I mean, he was thinking way ahead of where he was at. Like he was like, games should be on Nickelodeon, and everyone laughed him out of the room.
And then they were on Nickelodeon.
And now literally multiple playoff games are on Nickelodeon. Like, and this wasn't that long ago. This was 2015, 16. So, I mean, I guess we're getting older here, but 6 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that. And I know time flies.
Jesus.
But
he was one of those guys that was obsessed, Nick.
Yeah.
And when you're obsessed with something, sometimes you can get perceived that it's a hard negative. And he was to that point where he was just completely obsessed, and a lot of people just didn't understand it. Unless you were in the inner circle, you just didn't understand it.
Had no idea. And I mean, I can't say enough about Coach Diaco. I mean, he was obsessed, like you said, and when you're obsessed with something and you're in that process, you're going to sound crazy to a lot of people.
Correct.
And whether, that's like something tangible that like people like, went to, and like, civil conflict, those are like pieces of it. But when you're process driven, like, and you're obsessed with something and you're like, number one, you don't really care about what other people say about that, but you can be perceived as crazy. Absolutely. I mean, like some of the best and greatest business people, athlete, of all time, they are, crazy.
Right.
Like not like they're perceived as like, crazy. And
I mean, think about what he was trying to do. Like,
I know
with the civil conflict, right? If you break that down, and it obviously was perceived as, a huge flop.
Yeah.
But he came from the Big Ten.
Yeah.
Then he came from Notre Dame. He was trying to create a culture of rivalry, bring back that excitement of college football. I understood it.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was a flop. It didn't go over well, and it became kind of a massive joke when they left the trophy on the field. But let's just say in an alternate universe, Central Florida, who was the best team that year, by the way, and then they just lost every game the year after that.
Yeah.
But let's just say they adopted it and they enjoyed it, and then it became a true rivalry. Like who's to say? Well, it would have been different, obviously, but again, can't change history and what ifs and all this stuff. I respect what he was trying to do.
Absolutely. I mean, he was literally trying to make UConn Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Like that, like if you think about it, right? And
Absolutely.
I mean, talk about an undertaking. I mean, like to try to do that, like that is like coming from like that one of the most storied programs in college football and that has the biggest rivalries and plays the biggest games and is consistently, top team and, in the playoff all the time to, UConn football, where, middle of the road, group of six or again, like G5, I guess. Yeah. Power or whatever.
Power six, baby.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Power six. Exactly. A power six school that's like, that's lost and make them Notre Dame. Like, if you actually think about it from that perspective, like to try to do that, that is crazy. Like that is, and that's what we tried to do. And I mean, he had some success at it, but so many things have to go right to piece it together, and I mean, there's just so many variables. And so, it's tough. He was actually on one of the Barstool podcasts, I think this past winter or a couple months ago or something. I don't know if you saw it, but I'll send it to you. It was
definitely want to see that.
It was interesting. Yeah, it was good. I know. Down the road, well, hopefully we can try to get him on once this gets a little bigger. But
that'd be exciting for sure.
All right, so that was a good discussion. So we're gonna move on to a couple big questions and then a quick Q&A, and then that's the wrap. So, toughest part of your journey through football. It could be early on, it could be college, could be your experience in the NFL. What was the toughest part for you on that?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think the toughest part is keeping confidence in yourself, man. Like I think Timmy kind of touched on it a little bit, where the saying that I like to say is, when you make a mistake in college football, the opposing team's marching band starts to play. And what he means by that is, like, when everyone's watching, there's 40,000 people in the stands, and you make a mistake, like, everyone knows. And so there was a few times, right? I can think off the top of my head. I had a third down conversion drop against Missouri. I jumped on the 1 yard line against UCF. I had 2 false starts against South Florida. I had a deflection off my fingertips, interception against Villanova.
Yeah.
Like, I can think about all the mistakes, right? And it's hard to keep the confidence in yourself when there are 40,000 people that are thinking, man, like, this guy sucks.
Yeah.
Or you log on to Twitter and it's like people talking shit about you, or, you name it, right?
Yep.
And I can't even imagine what the quarterbacks go through and what the head coaches go through. But, like, that's the hardest part, is the fact that people watch the game, they think they know what you're going through, and they can critique you from the sidelines, and you have to try to keep that mental strength. I think that's the hardest part.
I agree. Yeah, it's so tough. And like that mental toughness and that we talked about earlier, that's being able to develop that in yourself is super important. So, I mean, I definitely agree. It's so hard for anybody. All right, next, family influence on your success. So you grew up in a sports family and around UConn in general. How do you think that growing up with, that and around sports and, being surrounded by athletes, influenced, your success in sports? And you had a large amount of success in sports.
Well, yeah. I think this is going to make my parents sound crazy, but I promise they're not. Well, to an extent, maybe we're all a little crazy, but when I was born, this is the rumor anyways, they told their financial advisor that there was no need to save for college funding, college tuition, because I was going to get a scholarship. So I think that was the message very early on. It was like, you're either getting a scholarship or you're paying for school yourself, right? So I think that kind of led me into the path that I went on, which was being obsessed with sports in general. And like, Nick, when you become obsessed with something and it's your entire life, you get good at it, whether by chance or whatever it is, you get good at it because it's what consumes your entire life. I mean, it's all I could think about. And so I stayed out of trouble. I stayed away from all the bad shit that everybody else was doing. I was focused on getting a scholarship. And so in terms of success, I think my family had a huge influence on it, not only in leading me down that path, but also giving me the support I needed, right? Bringing me to my games, bringing me, spending money on cleats and this and that. And then, when stuff went wrong, when I had a bad game, they were my support. And so, they had a huge influence on me, and I really, really appreciate everything they've done for me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for the tight end room, like, we know Tommy's family, they hosted us for Thanksgiving. Like, they're always the most amazing family. So, I've always appreciated your family and everything they did for all of us. So, I appreciate you guys.
Absolutely. We love having you.
So, all right, last big question before Q&A. This one, I ask everybody, and, we get different answers. But what does being a good teammate mean to you?
Yeah, I thought about this. I thought about you asking me this question. And I think it is all the stereotypical stuff that you've talked about, right? The leadership, the good attitude. I think that the difference is, for me, especially, is the word consistency. You can be a good leader and have a good attitude and be all that stuff when things are going great. But it's when shit goes south, right? When you get a new coaching staff, when you're on your fifth, position coach, when you're on your eighth playbook, when you break your leg, the consistency piece needs to take over. Because if you aren't consistent, and if you're not being the same guy, the same leader every day, then you really can't build that trust with somebody. And so I think it's all those things that the previous guys talked about, which is having a good attitude, being a good leader, being someone that you can open up to, rely on, but it's being consistent with it, which is the big piece for me.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And showing up for yourself and for your teammates when you're hurt or you're, down or whatever. So having that consistency in the ups and downs is huge. And I mean, that's a
same guy every day.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, so we're going into Q&A. Favorite sport and why?
Golf.
Yeah.
No question.
Love it.
No question. Again, it is a sport that you are competing against other people, but you're mostly competing against yourself. And the thing that I really love about golf is it's different than any other sport I've played, because you can get so pissed off and it won't make you better.
Yep.
Right. Like in football, like if you get pissed off, like you can
bang your head,
block somebody better and do something. But in golf, you miss a little 2-foot putt and you're pissed off, and you try to carry that to the next tee box, you're going to shank it in the woods. You're going to hit a massive slice. Like, it is the most humbling game. And when you think you've got it figured out, you don't. And then you can also play with your buddies. You can listen to music. You can, have a few adult beverages, and then you can make it as competitive as you want. And so that's why I truly think that at my phase in life, golf is my favorite sport.
I love it. Yeah. I mean, I'm a big golf fan too. I grew up playing golf and tennis. Like, I never played football or basketball or anything. So, I mean, that was one of my favorite sports growing up, and I still love to play it. I don't get out, enough obviously anymore. And I mean, do you get out at all?
Amy and I have gotten into golf. She's gotten into golf lately. And so she's like, cool. We need to get out there, play. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, don't twist my arm, so we get out quite a bit. I'd say maybe once or maybe twice a week.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we get out a good amount, which is nice.
That's better than me. I gotta get out there, but yeah, we'll have to get out there sometime.
Absolutely.
I know it's been
Absolutely.
when I'm over there, or you're over here, or whatever. Also, congrats. I'll toss it, but you guys got engaged, so
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Thank you.
How has that been for you? Obviously, that's like a production kind of keeping that a secret and like figuring that out, I'm sure.
Well, when you talk about teammates, Nick, man, like she is by far the best teammate I've had. And it doesn't even come close, right? So it's been amazing. It's been an awesome journey. I love her family. She loves my family. We push each other to be better. And it's just been a great experience. And I can't wait to spend the rest of my life with her. It's going to be she's going to be a great teammate.
Yeah, it's the ultimate teammate. That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. Okay, favorite player growing up that made you want to play? So this could be football, basketball, whatever.
Yeah, I mentioned him before, but JJ Redick, man.
Yeah.
I think that he there's actually two. I would say it's JJ Redick, and being so close to college basketball, and especially women's basketball, Diana Taurasi had a huge influence on me. Both of those players in college were absolute lethal shooters, right? They were absolute sharpshooters. They had that cold-blooded personality where they would just take over a game. They put up 40 on you. And so I think as far as favorite players growing up, I think JJ and Diana, they just completely, I was just mesmerized by them because they were just so good at what they did.
And that's a good answer. And it's interesting now because JJ's actually he's an analyst on ESPN. So you'll kind of get some insights into how he sees the game and such.
Right.
And I mean, it is different seeing it from a player like that's perspective. And I mean, it's just like, football, like when we are saying all these different things that go into football and that someone watching has no clue,
Right.
And I mean, same idea. And I've watched him on, ESPN, and he's done a great job. And I mean, amazing player, obviously. And in college, amazing. In the NBA, I mean, he was a sharpshooter. He was in the league for a long time. That's a testament to be able to be in the league for a long time. I don't care who you are, that's amazing. And he was, an amazing player. So yeah, that's a great answer. Okay, favorite stadium you've played in. So we've played in a decent amount of stadiums. You have one that's come to mind. Obviously, I mean, I'll throw it out there that we played in Yankee Stadium the one year, which was cool.
Man,
but
there's a lot. I played in three MLB stadiums. Played in Fenway, played in Yankee Stadium, and then played at Tropicana Field.
That's our bowl game.
Actually, I'm sorry, 4. We played in 4. Tropicana Field and Raymond James. Oh, no, Raymond James. Okay.
Because
I was going to say NFL. I was going to say professional sports. We played in Raymond James. But I think in terms of, I'm going to go based off of just atmosphere and looks.
Yep.
Okay. And I don't mean like looks as in like the people there. I mean like the surrounding stadium.
Yeah.
BYU.
Yeah.
BYU, you fly into Salt Lake and you see these mountains in their stadium. They got the mountains in the background. But their fan section, man, was bananas.
Nuts.
I mean, they were crazy.
Yeah.
I remember we got backed up on our own 1 yard line. We were headed out. We had like a 99-yard drive to try to score. But the first play of that drive, their student section was like in a bowl behind the behind the end zone, and it was so loud in that stadium we could not hear Brian in the huddle. You literally couldn't hear him. Like we're like saying like we can't hear you, and we had to go to a silent count. The camera's shaking on film. So as far as atmosphere and looks, I mean that stadium was awesome environment.
Yeah, that was incredible. Yeah, I mean that's super unique, and they were obviously very good. And we caught them with Taysom Hill when he was a Heisman candidate, And but we caught him before he got injured every year.
Right.
So we caught him at his best, basically.
Talk about a career that guy has.
Oh, incredible.
But yeah, I mean, we've played against some studs. I mean, I played against Khalil Mack as a freshman.
Yeah, Buffalo.
Khalil Mack. We played against Landon Roberts, like I said. But he was a good one, man. As far as a quarterback, he was slippery. He could throw. It was fun to watch
at Rent, because we played that. It was a home and away, so we played them at the Rent too, and they diced us. He diced us. It was like 4 touchdowns, or
he was unbelievable. You know, it was a person I got to see him, a player I got to see in person who was fun to watch was Travis Kelce.
Oh,
when he played at Cincinnati.
Okay,
he gave us the business. I mean, he had like 3 touchdowns on us in the first half. Like,
I didn't realize that.
He was on Cincinnati.
I didn't even realize that at the time. Well, shit.
Yeah, he was. I think this was my freshman year, so I don't think you were there.
Oh, I wasn't there then. Okay, it was a year before I got there.
Yeah, you before you got there. But he looked like he was a 7-foot mammoth when we played. Like, it was crazy. But he was very good.
Talk about someone successful that, I mean, to be honest, that's kind of like who I see as like your game. Like when you were playing football, like I saw your game as, Travis Kelce, and obviously like he was successful at the next level, to tenfold. But like, I mean, that's, I don't know. And you guys kind of look alike too, right? I mean, that's
first of all, I appreciate what you're saying right now, but Travis Kelce and I are not even in the same freaking league. Okay, he is an absolute beast.
I know he's a beast.
Might be a future Hall of Famer. We'll see, but
he will.
A guy that I really, really like to watch and try to emulate my game around was George Kittle.
Yeah,
I mean, he was like at the end of his college career, going into his NFL career, but he is a guy that can block his ass off, can get yards after catch. I mean, I put him in the same category as Gronkowski when I say like game-changing tight end. But I mean, he was a guy that I tried to emulate for sure.
Talk about an ultimate like 2-pronged player, right? I mean, he's
crazy.
He's just so great at like his blocking is incredible, and then he's a great pass catcher as well.
It is hard. It's hard to put a description on how hard it is to block a freaking defensive end in the NFL.
Yep.
I mean, it is damn near impossible, and he makes it look easy. Like, if you can, I'm telling you right now, if you had an offensive coordinator who's a pro-style coordinator, and you told them they could have any pick, they're picking a quarterback, and then they're picking a tight end who can block the defensive end, because it is a differentiator. If you can have a tight end that can man-to-man block a defensive end, you can free up a tackle, you can free up the guards. Like, it makes your life so much easier as an offensive coordinator, and he is a guy that can do it. It's unbelievable.
So much easier. Absolutely. I agree. And I mean, just to toss a quick story in there. I mean, like when I had to line up and like Foley was lined up at end, like I'm like, okay, I'm just like, what am I supposed to do?
You're honestly at that point, you're thinking to yourself, like, I'm going to hold on for dear life.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to like not lose ground.
That the quarterback doesn't get sacked.
Exactly. Try to not lose ground and hope.
And if I have to hold the shit out of him, I'm going to do it.
Exactly.
I don't care.
Hold it and hope the back makes like a miraculous cut or something that just.
I'm telling you, man.
No, bro, I know. Oh, good times. All right. We're almost there. Favorite TV show? TV show could be a movie.
Yeah. Favorite TV show at this moment.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed watching Suits. Which was a great show. Makes you kind of want to be rich as hell, which is probably a bad thing. But yeah. And then I'm currently in the newest season of Stranger Things.
It's wild.
Which is wild.
What episode are you on?
I think I'm on 6 right now.
Oh,
like legit. legit like makes you look over your shoulder at night, which is like was not the first couple seasons. I'll tell you that.
It's nuts. I mean, so quickly, the first season was, got everyone hyped about it, and it started the intrigue in Stranger Things, and then the second and third seasons weren't as good, but how to make a follow-up season? I mean, this is a master. Like, I couldn't believe that it was this good when I was watching it, and you haven't even finished it yet, but
no,
I couldn't believe it was as good as the first season, if not better. Like, I mean, that's impossible to do. Like, how do you?
My brain can't even fathom the way that these people, like, their imagination.
Oh my God. Nuts.
It's unbelievable, man. Like, yeah. I don't even know how they think of this stuff. Like, they gotta be on like some sort of psychedelic or something. Like,
we're in a different world. Let's call it the upside down. Yeah.
Right. How do you think of this shit? It's crazy, man. But
and then
hats off to them because
execute the vision. I mean, yeah,
it's crazy. But I freaking love it, and that's the show I'm on.
Yeah, no, I love it too. And then they're coming out part 2 in a month, or less than a month now.
Yep.
So, all right, last question. What is next for Tommy? Are you gonna you guys eyeing any more runs at some point? You taking some time to just, lifting again? What's next?
Yeah, I'm lifting currently, and loving it. Trying to put on some more weight because I dropped like 20 pounds when we were running.
Yeah.
So I just didn't feel normal. I was like a little bird.
Yeah.
But personal wise, just looking forward to getting married first of all, and then hopefully we'll take on another marathon or two, and then career wise, just really trying to focus on trying to get into a manager position at the company that I'm at. I really have enjoyed being a leader in sports in general, and then hopefully in my career. Yeah. So just taking on a team and then trying to be a good sales rep. It's the bottom line. Yeah. Well, again, congrats on that. Is it going to be this year? Is it next year? You're still working on details? I think, yeah. It's in February of next year. February. Okay. Nice. So it's coming up quick. Yeah. But thankfully for me, she is an extremely, she's a good planner and she is very organized, unlike myself. And so I just sit back and just watch it happen, which is nice. But yeah, it's in February of next year. So that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, there's so many different things that go on with that. Dude, I had no clue. And it's crazy because I had no clue how much goes into it. And then she's like, "Yeah, we gotta personalize napkins and all this stuff." I'm like, what? Is this a thing? Oh yeah, there's a personalized website for napkins. It's a napkin personalization website. I'm like, who the fuck came up with this? Just trying to take my money, man. Exactly. This is exactly right. That's exactly right. Dang, yeah, that's awesome. And so this is also the first time I am publicizing this, but I will have a video come out about it later. But I'm actually going to run Pier to Peak in the fall this year. So it's in September, Labor Day weekend, and so we're gonna make another run at it. Awesome. So awesome, dude. That's great. Starting the training up again. I know. I literally, when I train too, I mean, like, we can lose weight. Our weight can fluctuate a decent amount. I mean, I'll lose like 30 pounds. It's crazy. I went from like 240 to 212. Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's literally didn't even look like the same person. Exactly. Like a bird, like you said. So you said, when are you running it? In September? September. So I've got a little bit over 12 weeks. Last time I only had 8 weeks to train last time, which was you had a good time last time too, right? It was pretty good. It was top. So I mean, it's completely on a hill, so it's not like normal half marathon times. Right. But yeah, I was top 100. I was like 88th or something like that. So I mean, really for me, finishing was like the goal. Right. But I mean, doing that was good. But then I ran a second one, which was in October of last year, and I did about
right around you guys' time, like 140, 141 was my time.
Nice.
And that
That's
one
amazing.
was a little bit flatter, to say the least. So, you know, I feel like I have a little bit of experience now doing it, and I have the feeling. So with maybe a little bit more training, which, you know, basically this is the first week. So I just did a 4 miles, and it's like, you know, dead, you know, how much
How fast you lose it is actually embarrassing.
that's the big part of it, because like, unless you keep doing it, it's the consistency piece of it. Like, unless you keep doing it, then it literally flies away. And it's like, you got to run 4 miles, and I'm like, damn, I'm dead. Like, what the heck, dude?
Like 3 months after the marathon, I was like allergic to running at that point. Like, I ain't doing that.
Yeah.
But we ran a mile for fun, and I was like dying. Like, I ran 26.2 times more than this 3 months ago.
Wild.
I did this 26 times. Like, how the hell am I tired?
I know. Well, I mean, it's just it's amazing what you can do if you put, you know.
Disgusting how fast the body is just like.
Oh yeah,
we're good.
It's crazy. But now we're sticking to golf.
That's it.
All right. Well, we're gonna wrap up the episode. I know it's a little bit longer one, but I mean, it's been a great conversation. Lots of great takeaways, and if you're listening, watching, I hope you guys got something out of it. Tommy, I know he has an Instagram. Any plugs you want to throw out there?
I mean, I don't even know what my handle is. But I think it's like T Myers 80 or something.
I'll put it on the screen.
I think it's T Myers 80, but yeah, follow me on Instagram.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and you guys have a running Instagram too, which maybe you guys will start back up at some point. I'll toss that on the screen as well. And so, yeah, I appreciate you coming on and giving us your perspective on all this stuff. It's been great to talk and catch up a little bit, and you know, hopefully we can actually catch up at some point this year, you know, in person.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me on, and I look forward to getting out on the golf course and beating your ass.
I'm looking forward to that too. All right. Thank you for listening, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Just want to thank Tommy again for coming on the podcast. What an incredible episode. If you're still listening and watching, thank you. We appreciate you very much. He brought some amazing perspectives. We touched on a lot of great topics, the realities of the NFL, big time college football, how marathons are exactly like life. And I thought that analogy was just amazing. It's one of the reasons that I personally started to run, and one of the reasons and driving factors for me training for Peer to Peak. Yes, that was an announcement in this episode. I will be training for Peer to Peak. It is in September. It's on Labor Day weekend. It is a gnarly run. It's a gnarly half marathon. If you haven't looked at it before, check it out. It's the world's toughest half marathon, Peer to Peak in Santa Barbara, California. I will be running it, so more videos to come about that, but just putting it out there that we're starting training for that and have some exciting content for you guys coming around that. I also want to hear your feedback on what you want us to talk about, what you want to see, who you want to see, any potential topics. Just let us know your feedback. Find us on all social channels, Teammates Podcast, and we are looking forward to talking to you in the next episode. YouTube, thank you for watching. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. The episodes will be coming out every 2 weeks. Hit that thumbs up button, and it really helps us grow the podcast. Thank you.